Hello. So good afternoon, all of you. This lecture is of DRPCS. Okay, so if you are from other section, DRPCS for section A, this is going on. This lecture is going on. If you are from other section, you may leave the meeting. We'll just wait for a few minutes because hardly 2 or 3 students join.
Because
Okay. Anyways, we'll start now. Basically, in earlier lectures, we've gone through what are the different method for designing, and out of that, whatever the syllabus is there, so in that syllabus, we're going to cover limit set method. So now in the limit set method, we also gone through what are the differences between limit set method, or even it is called as LSM, while the other method that is called as WSM, that is working stress method. So what are the differences between them? And we have gone through certain criteria related to it, just like partial safety factor, partial safety factor for load, partial safety factor for material. We have even gone through what are the different IS score for the different loads. Now we'll consider what are the live load consideration. If we just look at IS 875, and according to IS 875, if we just look at here, so floor load is something can be for the residential, for the office, for the shop, for the assembly hall, and for the warehouse. Now, according to the different buildings, that floor load will get varied. So, if you just look at that, so this residential building basically have the 2 kilonewton per meter square. Live load for office, it is 2.5 kilonewton per meter square. For shop or floor, that is 5 kilonewton per meter square. And then warehouse, bookstore, and library is 10 kilonewton per meter square. Now, why is so? Because if you just look at the residential building, so normally people and also whatever the hall and dining and all those things, whatever the equipments are there, so that would be there. But when we talk about the offices, so yes, that particularly more load would be there. For shop, yes, you might have the different, uh, say, or for even the classroom, you might have the more load, or you can see for assembly halls, again, the loading will be more. So this is to be considered if we have to design office slab or for shop or for assembly hall. So you have to consider this loading in that case. Now, suppose if you want to just check staircase load, so in that case, there will be residential. For residential, you will have this 3 kilonewton per meter square, or for the public building. So public building could be anyone. So out of that public building, you just look at, so this for staircase loading, you might get 5 kilonewton per meter square. Again, roof load. So if you are going to provide a certain access, so sometimes people may have may have the utilization of that roof. So in that case, your roof load, if access provided, so that load is 1.5 kilonewton per meter square. If it is not provided, access is not provided. So sometimes or very rarely people may access that roof. In that case, hardly you can take the 0.75 kilonewton per meter square. So that is how this live load over there. Again, roof of building used for incidental assembly are designed for minimum live load of 4 kilonewton per meter square. So suppose in the roof, if you are going to use it as a assembly part, most of the time you want to use it as a assembly part. So many a times you can see that there are many buildings where in the nowadays the functions or the some assembly kind of things are going on. And that's the reason. So that load could be considered as 4 kilonewton per meter square. Then for wind load, there is a specific code for that, and that code is this IS 875 part 3. So wind load depend on the velocity of the wind and the location of the structure, permeability of the structure, height of the structure. So likewise, there are the different things to be considered while designing, while calculating basically the wind load. So according to IS 875, whatever the procedure is there, so according to that procedure, you have to just simply calculate the different parameters. So once you calculate the different parameters, then accordingly you can uh, take that load for the design purpose. So you can find that, okay, so this was live load, this was dead load. So dead load and live load are the opposites. But for the wind load, you have to simply go through this IS 875 part 3, and for the different building, this calculation part would be different. Then snow load, anyways, in India, there is hardly or in north side, and that's too near Himalaya region. In that case, only the snow load have to be taken into consideration. But anyways, in our region, we do not consider at all the snow load. But if you want to design it, so you have to just refer this part 4 of IS 875. Then for the earthquake forces, there are different parameters to it. And for that, IS 1893, that is the law, that is the IS code. And if you just look at how that particularly varies, so it depends upon where the earthquake occurred, what is the epicenter of it, or the particularly stiffness of the soil. So all those things will be applicable. How the soil strata, what is the height of the structure, or where is the location. There are different things that we will consider when we will go for the unit number 6. So now we'll go ahead with some of the IS specification, standard specification. So what are the spacing of the reinforcement? What should be the spacing of the reinforcement, or minimum horizontal distance between individual bars? So that we will see. So the horizontal distance between two parallel main reinforcing bars shall usually be not less than. So if you are going to provide main reinforcement bar, in that case, basically you have to consider these three parameters. Diameter of the bar. So diameter ranges from say 6 mm, 8 mm, 10, 12, 16, then 20, 22, 25. Then you have this 28 and then 32. And likewise, there are different diameter of the bar. So which bar you are going to provide according to the design. So that diameter of the bar to be considered here. Then diameter of the largest bar if diameters are unequal. So there may be some times that suppose you are going to provide say okay 5 mm more than the nominal size of aggregate. So what kind of aggregate you are going to use in the concrete? What is the size of that aggregate? In that case, just add 5 mm more in that case, and that should be, these are the three parameters, and you have to minimum spacing or minimum distance between two parallel main reinforcing bars shall be not less than the greatest of the following. So anything, suppose the diameter of the largest bar is 12 mm. So it should not be less than 12 mm. Okay. Diameter of the bar, suppose one bar is 10 mm diameter bar, and then suppose you are going to provide 5 mm aggregate. So 5 plus 5, that's going to be 10. So that's how maximum would be 12 mm here. Then the greater horizontal distance between the minimum specified in A should provide wherever applicable or possible. However, when the needle vibrator are used, above distance may be reduced to two-thirds of nominal maximum size of the course aggregate. So that's the another one. Then when bars are in rows, sometimes you have to provide the bars in rows. So suppose if you have to provide the bars, say in top row or bottom row, in that case, sometimes what you can do, you can just simply go ahead with the calculation of it, and then minimum vertical distance between or would be the greater of the following. So first one is the 15 mm, then two-thirds of the nominal size of aggregate, and then maximum size of bar. So out of these three, whichever is the greater one. So either 15 would be greater, or two-thirds nominal size of aggregate may be better, may be greater, or sometimes maximum size of bar may be greater. So minimum vertical distance have to be like this. So just a minute, I'll just share the screen again. Okay. Okay. So now that's okay. So suppose now if you have to, there is a beam like this, okay, and there could be, say, suppose these are the reinforcement bars, these are the reinforcement bars, and this is the lower one. So let us have anything that, suppose, what should be the vertical distance? Suppose you are going to consider this center line. So this distance, what should be the vertical distance? So in that case, you have to just consider first of all this 15 mm. So this is the 15 mm, and then 2/3 nominal size of aggregate or the maximum size of the bar. Suppose sometimes you may use a bar like this. Suppose there is a bar of, say, 10 mm or 12 mm. So 12 mm is the maximum size, and accordingly you have to provide it. Similarly, okay, so maximum horizontal distance between tension bars. So if you are going to provide the bars in the beam, so in that case, so this is something for the mile scale. So we're going to provide mile scale most of the time, just usually provide for the stirrups only, and we usually go ahead with this F415, F500 for the other main bars. We usually go ahead with F415. So not more than 180 mm and not more than 150 mm. So that's the thing. So maximum, this is the maximum, 180 mm is the maximum and 150 mm is the maximum for in the beam. Suppose if you are in the slab, so for the slab is the main scale if you are going to provide, so either it should be 3D or 300 mm. 3D means it's the diameter of the bar. So these are the criteria. So 3 times diameter or 300 mm, whichever is smaller. Then if you are going to provide distribution bar is, suppose if you are going to provide bars in the one direction, say this is the main bar, in that case the distribution bar would be simply perpendicular to it. This would be the simply perpendicular to it. So we'll see the next. Then what are the different nominal covers? So cover to the reinforcement, if you just look at this is called as nominal cover and this is called as clear cover. So nominal cover is something, suppose this is the beam, or say this is the outer layer and this is the reinforcement. So this is nothing but the nominal cover. So these are the stirrups, and then these are the main bar. These are the main bar. Okay. And clear cover is the something center line. If you just consider the center line of this and this one, outer one. So that's the clear cover of the main strip. Then nominal cover, as we have seen, or this is the nominal cover and this is the clear cover. Now for the nominal cover, if the column bar, this is all according to the IS 456 clause 26.4, and now if you just consider column bar is having less than 12 mm, in that case minimum cover should be 25 mm, while if the column bar have more than 12 mm diameter bar, then minimum cover has to be 40. So main bar in the beams and slabs, if suppose generalized, you can say 25 mm should be the cover. As you have seen, yeah, or if anyone go through some of the older buildings, and you may find that this cover would have been or because of the less cover, that reinforcement bar you may find directly, and if that reinforcement bar is exposed to the atmosphere, so most of the time you may find that it gets corroded. Corrosion may take place. So if the corrosion is going to take place for the reinforcement bar, so what would happen in that case? So in that case, the strength of that particular reinforcement bar would be decreased. So this is very important. This cover is very important. This cover is very important, all those covers. So foundation, if you are going to provide the foundation, so 50 mm should be the minimum cover. Now, how to calculate the overall depth? So how to calculate this overall depth? That's depend upon by half bar diameter, and the minimum cover is to be there. So that's the effective depth, bar diameter divided by 2, and the minimum cover. Now, these are the generalized criteria for the minimum reinforcement. What should be the minimum reinforcement for a beam? So minimum reinforcement have to be this ASC equals to 0.85 into B into D divided by Fy. So we have seen this Fy is the characteristic strength of steel. This ASC, it is the reinforcement area, B is the width, that is the width, and then D is the depth of the beam, effective depth of the beam here. Then for the slab, mild steel, if you are going to provide the mild steel, then 0.15%, whatever gross area is there, cross sectional area, or you can say the gross area or the cross sectional area of the concrete. Or suppose if you are going to provide Fe415 and Fe500, so in that case, 0.12% of whatever the cross sectional area. So we will see it in much detail when we go for the calculation or the design one by one. Similarly, for the shear, so that is the criteria for to calculate the shear. This S equals to 0.4 divided by 0.87 Fy B into S. S is the spacing, B is the width, Fy is the characteristic strength of the steel. Now column 0.8% of Ag. Ag is the cross-sectional area of the concrete. So if we just look at this beam, have the width equals to say 300 mm, and this is the depth equals to say 500 mm. So here this cross-sectional area. So since this is a rectangular section. Width is 300, depth is, total depth is 500. So cross-sectional area would be simply area of the rectangle, that area of the rectangle that is equals to width multiplied by depth. So that would be area of the rectangle, and that is nothing but the cross-sectional area. Now, there are certain minimum reinforcement, now also maximum reinforcement. You cannot give that reinforcement above this level. Maximum, suppose if you are providing it for the tension or sometimes in the compression, so 0.04 into, say, suppose this is a cross section. I'm talking about the cross section. This cross section may be for the beam or for the column. So this would be the width. This is called as a width, and this is called as a capital D or total depth. And for the cross section, for the column, it should be 6% of the total area. Basically, 0.04 means this is 4%, while this is 6% and 0.06. So that should be the maximum reinforcement. You cannot provide more than that. This is all we are looking according to the IS. So what would happen if we just provide the minimum less than minimum reinforcement? What would happen if we provide more than the maximum reinforcement? So if we just provide lesser reinforcement, yes, obviously you can say that the building won't resist the particularly load. And if we talk about what if we just provide the maximum reinforcement, yes, we do have the factor of fill nearby. We want to provide the reinforcement according to our own needs. But as per IS code, it is saying just only 4% of the area you have to just provide. But if you want to provide more than that, so that may lead to the crack. Basically, if you are there in the if there develop the crack to the crack, basically that particularly concrete, that particularly inside material will expose the atmosphere. So it is going to expose the atmosphere. Yes, that particular strength will get reduced. If the strength get reduced, so after a few years, so that building may have the more cracks, and that building may be a failure one. So you have to provide it in a range. Then there are lap slices. When the length of bar available in the market is smaller than the length required, or when piece of bar are utilized. So sometimes you may see that suppose there's a column from this location or to this one, or even you can say a longitudinal beam. In that case, now suppose the length is only available this one. Now you have to provide again reinforcement. So should you provide it just like from here and tie it like this? So no, this is not possible. You cannot provide like this. Or shall we, if it is like this, so can we provide it and tie it like this? So no, it has certain distance. So suppose lap length. What is now lap length? So suppose this is the one bar and this is the another bar. Okay, I'll do it again. That's the one bar. That's another bar. So now this is the one bar and this is the second bar. So this is nothing but you can say what should be the length of this? And that is called as a lap splice. This length total. So if it is going for the flexural tension, so in that case, you have to provide it LD, that is called as development length, or 30 times diameter of the bar. If it is direct tension, so again the same thing, 30 times diameter of bar, or that is the development length. There's a formula for development length, we'll see. But mostly 30 times diameter of bar should be the minimum one. Suppose this bar diameter is of 12 mm, and yes, this is how to be 12 mm. So in that case, you have to provide it 30 multiplied by 12 should be the minimum distance at this location, and that is the lap splice length. If you are going for the compression, in that case, it will be 24 times diameter. So that is called as a slices here. So there are certain now terminologies we'll just go ahead with, but earlier we'll just recap what we have seen today. So I'll just remind you, you have to again go through the Google Classroom and just mark the attendance or answer the question if you are not done so. And some of you have entered with or type your name and roll number of the examination. So instead of examination roll number, you have to type your class roll number. So just like this, this Aditya Masram have entered as 303. So that is the roll number. Anjali Adore 16. Then Arpana Akarte 17. Again, you just check your roll numbers. All of you have to check your roll numbers, the latest roll numbers. What are your latest roll numbers? And accordingly, you should enter your class roll number and do not enter your exam roll number. That suppose the Sanskar and then Vaishnavi have entered or typed their examination roll number. So avoid that. Instead of that, just entered your class roll number. So you can just rename those things and ask your faculty advisor what is the latest roll number, if the roll numbers have been changed. So you can follow the same process for all the subjects. The same subject, Vaishnavi Thakre, if you are present, then just change your roll number. Instead of examination roll number, type your class roll number, and accordingly you have to rename yourself. Fine. So here we will stop, and as you have seen the different things, loads on the structure, you have seen the different I specification, and what is the maximum spacing, cover to the reinforcement, nominal cover, overall depth, reinforcement, how should be the reinforcement maximum as well as the minimum reinforcement, and lap splice. So in the next lecture, we will go ahead with these terminologies, what is the effective span and all those things. So we'll stop here. Thank you.